Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, we're going to try and predict who is going to dethrone every single current active champion in the WWE today. And we're going to look at every champion, including all of the champions on the main roster, as well as every current champion down in NXT. And apparently we're going to be looking at TNA and AAA titles as well, because we have WWE talent involved in those championship pictures now. So we'll go through every belt. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to dethrone them, and I'll try to give you my best reasoning as to why it might make sense. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm incredibly confident that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And by the way, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you're going to find the Night 1 and Night 2 reviews of SummerSlam with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about, as well as the Raw reviews and SmackDown reviews and so much more extra content that uses footage that we can never upload here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's get started. Let's start things off by talking about the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship belts, and these things are on the move since the last video. In the last video, the champions were Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, and I was actually starting to fall in love with them as WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, even though they never actually won the belt together as a tag team, but they were doing a pretty good job at making me care about them. In the last video, I did predict that the next WWE Women's Tag Team Champions were going to be Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. And I did end up being correct about that, as Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair ultimately won the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship belts at SummerSlam. However, I can't give myself full points here because if you go to that last video, I actually made it right before Evolution. I actually predicted that these two would win the Women's Tag Team Championship belts at Evolution in that fatal four-way match, but they lost that. They did eventually make me correct by winning at SummerSlam, but I feel like I need to throw that asterisk out there so that you know. And I think that this is great. I think it's always great when WWE gives main eventers these Women's Tag Team Championship belts because it always brings more of a spotlight to this division. Now, the job of the WWE is to actually build a division. What they can't do is make the champions the division like they did with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I sincerely hope that they raise some other teams, maybe make new teams to make this division something that's must watch. I'm going to go with a bit of an oddball prediction. I'm going to predict that somewhere down the line, I'm not necessarily saying within the next week or two, that Io Sky and Rhea Ripley are going to join forces and become a tag team that will eventually dethrone Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair somewhere down the line, maybe closer to the start of the year in 2026. The reason I'm predicting this is because they've already shown an on-screen relationship between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, a relationship that might actually be causing a rift between Io Sky and the Kabuki Warriors. So I'm actually kind of sniffing out and sussing out that we might actually be getting the union of Io and Rhea to take on the Kabuki Warriors at some point, with the Kabuki Warriors turning heel on Io. And that could eventually snowball until eventually we get Io Sky and Rhea Ripley becoming a full-fledged tag team and going after Women's Tag Team Championship gold. Here's where the end of my prediction actually takes place. I actually think that these two are going to face each other at WrestleMania, probably for the Women's World Championship as tag team champions, almost exactly like John Cena and Shawn Michaels did at WrestleMania 23. I think it's almost inevitable that Rhea and Io are going to face each other off at WrestleMania, considering right now the big storyline is that Rhea Ripley just can't seem to beat Io Sky, and I think that this could be a great way to get us to that eventual match in that big moment of Rhea Ripley eventually finally beating Io Sky. I don't think it's too much of a stretch. It is a little bit of a stretch considering this tag team doesn't actually exist, but on the last episode of Monday Night Raw, a lot of people were actually expecting Io and Rhea to be the ones to challenge Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. So clearly there are people in the WWE fandom that already have this idea in their brains. This isn't an entirely original one. I'm seeing this a lot online. And this would be a giant match, like an enormous matchup, probably the biggest matchup for the Women's Tag Team Championships ever. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley? Are you kidding me? Let's talk about the World Tag Team Championship belts from Monday Night Raw. And yeah, these things are still dead. In the last video, the champions were the Judgment Day, JD McDonough and Finn Balor, and they really haven't done much since becoming tag team champions, unfortunately. I will say there is a silver lining. I do think that even though the champions haven't done much, the division is slowly starting to build up. I'm seeing storylines with American Made, LWO getting into the mix, the New Day getting non-commercial TV time finally, so we might be on our way to actually building a proper tag team division on Monday Night Raw. We're getting there. We're in the primordial ooze stages right now of the growth of the Raw tag team division. Unfortunately, until that division grows, there really isn't much for the Finn Balor and JD McDonough tag team to do as champions. So we're probably looking at another lackluster world championship reign. Listen, in the last video, I said that we might get American made. Honestly, I was just throwing tag team names out there because there really weren't that many tag teams to really choose from, but we haven't really seen any interaction between the Judgment Day and American made since the last video. So I'm actually going to pivot somewhere else. And it's going to be a hell of a pivot. I'm going to go with B&B Security, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker somewhere down the line, maybe in the fall, maybe going into War Games, winning the Tag Team Championship belts, maybe in a similar manner that the Bloodline did when Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga won the tag team titles to really catapult the tag team division and the titles into a quasi-main event scene. But more than anything, giving the Vision, Seth Rollins' faction, a ton of gold to help legitimize them even more going into War Games. Because I'm predicting this War Games match to be the Vision versus some of the biggest baby faces that you can concoct together, the likes of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and who else? Maybe like a Sami Zayn, maybe even a Cody Rhodes joins the picture. Either way, like, it's gonna be some mega baby faces going up against the Vision. So to help legitimize that, we can't just have Seth Rollins as world champion. Maybe we gotta have B&B Security holding some gold as well. And don't forget, like, this was part of the reason why the tag team division on SmackDown really was able to rise with their parallel storyline of being in the main event scene and in the tag team division. The Bloodline really helped give eyeballs to that tag team division on Friday Night SmackDown. Maybe, just maybe, they follow the same formula here on Monday Night Raw to help elevate the Raw tag team division. Now let's talk about the SmackDown tag team side of things, the WWE Tag Team Championship belts. And in the last video, the champions were the Street Profits, and they are no longer the champions because they did indeed lose this belt in July. And they lost the belts to the team that I predicted, because I did predict that they would eventually lose the championship belts to the newly added Wyatt Six to the tag team division. And yeah, that's what happened. We have brand new tag team champions, specifically the tag team champions being Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. I don't know if they're able to do some sort of freebird rule. As of right now, all of the matches that they've had for the tag belts have included Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. So I don't think that there's going to be any intermingling, even though in the TLC match at SummerSlam, pretty much all of them were in the match, including Nikki Cross. I think this is a good idea. I know that I don't particularly think that they are the best tag team in what is the best tag team division in the world right now, but I think from a character standpoint, giving the big bads of the tag team division the titles allows for the rise of a big babyface team to ultimately conquer them and get that big pop. And that's why I'm going to pick Fraxium to be our next WWE Tag Team Champions over on Friday Night SmackDown. They are beloved. People want to see them succeed. The high-flying nature of their offense just makes it so easy to root for them and pop for all of their matches. So I think eventually somewhere down the line, this is what they're going to explore. Plus, let's not forget that they haven't really been able to get their hands on the Wyatt Six since the Wyatt Six cost Fraxium the match against the Street Profits for the WWE Tag Team title. So there is a story here that they can re-explore. I also have to do the AAA Tag Team titles because now we have WWE superstars holding these belts. It was the same last video. In the last video, the champions were still Los Garzas, so nothing really has changed here. They haven't really had any title defenses, but I am expecting them to have a title defense and probably lose these titles as early as mid-August in Triple Mania. They haven't made a match because as of the making of this video, the only match scheduled for Triple Mania right now is the main event Fatal 4-Way for the Mega Championship. So I'm just going to go with one of the tag teams that I know from down there, the Aztec Warriors. I'll go Octagon Jr. and Laredo Kid to, I don't know, come together again and win the tag titles. The NXT Tag Team Division, for as much crap as we give the Raw Tag Team Division, don't forget the NXT Tag Team Division right now might actually be worse. In the last video, the champions were Hank and Tank. Nothing has changed here. They haven't really defended the titles aside from a one-off match that they had with the freshman class of Chase U, but that was never a match that I was expecting them to win. I'm expecting these guys to hold for a while, and I've been predicting the same guys for the last couple videos. Those guys being Dark State, and it's now finally coming to fruition. I've been predicting Dark State for a hell of a long time now, and they haven't even been close to the tag team division. Then they took a side quest over to TNA, but now they're back in the NXT tag team division, and they now actually have an NXT Tag Team Championship match at NXT Heatwave later in August, and I think they're going to win. We don't know which two have been picked yet. Whoever they are, I think Dark State is going to walk out as the next NXT Tag Team Champions, and I think it's for the best.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh! Lil Dwayne went to the...
no,
that's when that happens. That's...
Oh,
she is not landing on her feet.
She did not land on her. God damn it.
That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're going to be looking at Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in an unsanctioned match in AEW back in 2019. The Rock versus Triple H versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam 2000. We're going to be looking at an absolutely insane backyard wrestling match with one of the craziest spots that I've ever seen. A women's wrestling classic between Maika and Suzu Suzuki, and a banger of a match between Konosuke Takeshita versus Speedball Mike Bailey. You're gonna get all of this, plus all of the other matches that we've already covered, plus the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and all the other series that are exclusive over to Patreon. So go check it out. Again, it's patreon.com/SantiZap. If you're already a supporter over on Patreon, we thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do what I do as often as I do. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's get you back to the video. The Women's North American Championship, not much has changed here, folks. The champion in the last video, and still the current champion, is Sol Ruca. She did literally just have an amazing defense against Tatum Paxley, a defense that I actually thought she might lose because of the calling and maybe a heel turn from Zarya. I do think that we are about to hit the bend and finally get to that Zarya and Sol Ruca split so that Zarya can get her hands on her first championship belt in the WWE. I think we're about to get there. And I've been predicting Zarya for in a ridiculous long time now. Basically, since Sol Ruca won the North American Championship, I've been predicting Zarya, and I'm not going to fold. I'm going to stick with this, and I think it's going to happen maybe at Heatwave. We'll see. Now let's talk about the WWE United States Championship from the women's side. The current champion is Julia, and Julia did just have an amazing defense, a fantastic match against the former champion in Zelina Vega, a match that a lot of people said, hey, that was good enough to be on SummerSlam. It's just too bad that they didn't really give us any hype or any build up to it to really warrant it being on SummerSlam. So clearly we have a very talented champion, and I sincerely hope that they make this a really dominant reign for Julia, where she just destroys the entirety of the division to where there's like no one left for her aside from maybe somebody coming over from Monday Night Raw, which was basically the Gunther model. I'd like to see what Gunther did, but now in female form with the Women's US Championship with Julia. I do think it's nice to have the addition of Kiana James as a lawyer, manager, mouthpiece for Julia that I hope gives Julia more TV and screen time. In the last video, I kind of cheated. I was like, I think it's going to be one of Alexa Bliss or Charlotte Flair. They might like feud and both go for the title, triple threat for the title, because I do think that one of the best ways right now to help get that championship division and championship and get the champion over is by putting a main eventer in there, and both Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair both are the perfect fit for that. However, with them being champions at the moment, I'm actually going to pivot somewhere else, but it's going to be a pivot that I don't think will take fruition for a really long time. I'm considering Lyra Valkyria here, mostly because Lyra Valkyria is amazing. She is a proven commodity in the mid-card already, as demonstrated by the Women's Intercontinental Championship run that she had and the feud that she's had with Becky Lynch over the last several months, but mostly because I'm starting to think that she might actually just be leaving Monday Night Raw, maybe turning heel and going over to Friday Night SmackDown. Her current storyline is that she wants nothing to do with Bayley. She wants to separate herself, and one of the best ways to separate yourself is to just go to a different night and work a different show. And before she does that, she might just turn heel. If anybody right now is justified in turning heel in the women's division, it is Lyra Valkyria, and Triple H is very good at booking the justified heel, so I think that she can absolutely pull it off. And if she does go over to Friday Night SmackDown, I mean, her and Julia would absolutely melt eyeballs. That match would be so good, and I would love for them to explore this. But this one right now is certainly a reach, but the thing is that I don't see anybody in the women's side of things over on Friday Night SmackDown dethroning Julia anytime soon, so I'm really thinking far out ahead. Staying with the women's mid-card, let's talk about the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship next. The current champion is Becky Lynch, and she is defending left, right, and center. She was able to win the championship, defend at Evolution, defend against Bayley, defend at SummerSlam against Lyra Valkyria. She was able to defend defend against both of them at Evolution. So let's see where things can go here for Becky Lynch, because we're kind of in a reset era for this Women's Intercontinental Championship belt, because it looks like Becky Lynch has fully moved away from both Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. In the last video, I predicted that the next champion would be Bayley, and I predicted that it would be at like SummerSlam or Evolution. Again, I made the last video before Evolution, but no, here we are. Not only is Bayley has lost her championship opportunity multiple times to Becky Lynch, but she's now nowhere near the Women's Intercontinental Championship picture and is not the next person up at bat. That right now is Nikki Bella, although I'm not predicting Nikki Bella to dethrone Becky Lynch. Now I need you to stick with me here, because right now WWE post SummerSlam, like, it's basically a big giant reset, and that includes the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I feel like Becky Lynch is gonna hold on for a while, and she's gonna go through a carousel of different opponents like a Nikki Bella, like Natalya, like Maxine Dupree, until eventually she loses to a big returning star that I think is going to return as a babyface. Or if not a babyface, as a cool enough heel to beat the other heel, Becky Lynch. I'm talking about the return of Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is going to come back to a thunderous pop. Liv Morgan has reached superstardom, and she can be somebody that can go toe-to-toe on the mic in the ring with Becky Lynch. And I think that that return is going to be so big for the women's division that the best thing to do is to put her up against the hottest champion, which is not a women's world champion right now. It is Becky Lynch. Listen, Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, like, that to me supersedes like all of the other current world champions that you have in the women's division at the moment in terms of a match that would draw eyeballs and interest. Hell, I think Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan, if Liv Morgan really is scheduled to come back from the shoulder injury as late as early 2026, then perhaps we might be looking at this being a WrestleMania match. And I don't hate the idea of Becky Lynch holding and hoisting up the division, the Intercontinental Women's Championship belt, to the point where it earns a major marquee match at WrestleMania, and this would be a giant marquee match. Like I said, we are in a bit of a reset, and I know that this is a tough one. I know I'm trying to throw a Hail Mary from three sides of the field over, but I like this, so I'm gonna make the prediction. Let's go back down to NXT and look at the North American Championship over there. The current champion is Ethan Page, and it's actually not the North American Championship anymore. It's now the Canadian Championship, as he has completely rebranded the belt and it has become the most hated heel in NXT simply because he likes Canada. What's wrong with hating Canada, huh? What's wrong with that? Anyways, this guy is going through a Rolodex of different opponents. He's facing people off in TNA. He just had a match against Santino that was incredibly entertaining, but now we need to try and figure out who this belt is going to go to, because I do think that Ethan Page is nearing the end of his NXT run. In the last video, I predicted that it would just go back to Ricky Saints, but it doesn't look like Ricky Saints and Ethan Page are going to be crossing paths anytime soon. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they both go to the main roster at the same time. So what would be the point of giving the title back to Ricky Saints if Ricky Saints is also likely on his way out? I'm actually going to go with a fresh face here in the North American Championship scene. I'm going to go with Tavion Heights, who literally just started a championship program with Ethan Page. No matches confirmed, basically just an in-ring promo between the two, but I think it's going to inevitably lead to a championship match between these two. And since so many of us are predicting that Ethan Page is going to move on to the main roster soon, I think the best thing for him to do is to drop the title for somebody that is going to be there for a while developing in NXT, somebody that is incredibly talented in Tavion Heights. Next up, let's look at the United States Championship over on Friday Night SmackDown. The current champion is Solo Sikoa. He won it at Night of Champions, was able to successfully defend against Jacob Fatu in the steel cage match thanks to the MFT and Talatanga. And yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly in love with this current championship reign or what's going on with this division. In the last video, I just predicted that it was just going to go back to Jacob Fatu, that Jacob Fatu was going to get another big win at another big show, because WWE clearly has big plans for Jacob Fatu, but no, that didn't end up happening. He lost again because of MFT. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, not that much far out. We're still in the same neighborhood. I think it's going to stay within the family. I think eventually little big brother Jimmy Uso is going to dethrone Solo Sikoa. Sure, why not? Again, I'm not particularly loving what's going on in this division, but I'd love for WWE to take a risk with Jimmy Uso. They did with Jay. It paid off. He became uber mega popular, a huge merchandise seller. Maybe let's try with Jimmy, who is the better wrestler. And this wouldn't even be much of a pivot either. Like, Jimmy has been embroiled in this feud already as is, and I know that he did get a championship opportunity at Saturday night's main event, event, but sure, I'd say let's give him another one. Let's give him another chance. There were rumors of him getting a US Championship match and maybe even a win as early as WrestleMania, but then he got inserted into the Jay and Gunther feud and got written off to help elevate that feud. Maybe this is how they make amends for that. Let's give him the championship, sure. The Intercontinental Championship over on Monday Night Raw. Let's talk about this bad boy. In the last video, the champion was Dominic Mysterio, and he is still your Intercontinental Champion. He was out with injury. He was not medically cleared, but finally by SummerSlam, he was able to wrestle against AJ Styles. In the last video, I predicted that AJ Styles would be our next Intercontinental Champion. I said it could be as early as SummerSlam. He lost at SummerSlam, but I'm sticking with this. I absolutely see it being AJ Styles, maybe at Clash in Paris, maybe on Monday Night Raw, but it's clear that there is something here. I think that AJ Styles getting one last important championship run before he calls it quits on his career is vital. I want to see AJ holding championship gold, and this feud with Dominic Mysterio is still going on, so let's go ahead. Let's pull the trigger on this, especially if Dominic Mysterio is going to be busy winning the AAA Mega Championship. We'll see if that happens at Triple Mania. Well, we have to talk about the TNA Championship because the champion is currently a WWE superstar, so let's do that. In the last video, the champion was Trick Williams, and he is still the champion, defending its Slammiversary against both Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. And I was pretty sure that he was going to lose the championship here, but no, they kept the championship belt on Trick Williams after a tremendous ruse, a fake injury angle where he dives in and steals the victory last second to steal yet again the TNA Championship. But I do think that its championship reign is going to be coming to an end soon, likely at Bound for Glory later in the fall. In the last video, I predicted that it would just be Joe Hendry getting it back, but I'm pivoting. Now I'm going back to the guy that I originally predicted, but I pivoted away from. I originally had predicted Santana to be the guy, but then Santana lost to Trick Williams on NXT, and it looked like they were going back to Joe Hendry, but now it looks like Santana's the guy, especially with how screwed over he got at the end of the Slammiversary match, because he had the match won, and I think it's gonna be Trick Williams versus Mike Santana at Bound for Glory, and this will be the big moment for TNA winning their championship back, but also the big crowning moment as Mike Santana as the world champion in TNA. Damn it, now I have to do this too. The Knockouts World Championship in TNA is now also being held by WWE talent. In the last video, the champion was Masha Slamovich, and she had a match scheduled for the Women's Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary, a match that I didn't think that she would lose, but she did. And now JC Jane is no longer just our NXT champion, she's a double champion, double world champion, NXT and TNA world champion, and she's running around with both of these belts on WWE TV and TNA. Wild. The push for JC Jane has been something that I didn't see coming in 2025. I didn't expect her to win the Knockouts Championship, and I sure as shit did not expect her to beat Stephanie Velcro for the NXT Championship either. I think it's just gonna go back to Masha Slamovich, probably at Bound for Glory. What I'm expecting is that Bound for Glory will be the big glory moment for TNA when they win all of their gold back, and it'll be some big emotional moment where they were able to topple the two big bad guys from NXT, the bigger company, the bigger brand, to bring glory back to TNA. Now let's talk about the AAA Mega Championship. This isn't being held by a WWE superstar, but there's a match for it that involves a bunch of WWE superstars, so let's talk about it. The current champion is the amazing Hijo del Vikingo, currently holding the AAA Mega Championship. He defeated Alberto El Patron, formerly known as Alberto Del Rio, in the WWE for it. Look, if he was just having a one-on-one match against one of the WWE superstars, one-on-one against El Grande Americano, one-on-one against Dragon Lee, then I could see him winning, but I just don't see WWE allowing not one, not two, but three main roster superstars lose to a wrestler from AAA. I think he's gonna lose. I think that WWE is going to try and help raise the profile of AAA by giving the championship to one of their homegrown talents on the main roster. And I think that it's gonna be two-belt Dominic Mysterio. The pop that Dominic Mysterio got in AAA tells me that he is ridiculously over there, and I think that being world champion of a major promotion like AAA can help catapult him eventually to the main event scene on the main roster, which I think is the inevitable path for Dominic Mysterio's career, and I think that this is going to be the first domino that really falls towards the path to the main roster main event scene. Going back to NXT, let's talk about the NXT Women's Championship. The current champion is Jacy Jayne. We've already talked about Jacy Jayne. I'm not going to change anything about this, though. I'm going to stick with my prediction here. I've got Blake Monroe. When I look at the roster, I feel like she is the best suited to be the next women's champion. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a one-on-one match with Jacy Jayne. I know that NXT loves to take championship belts away from their champions in multi-person matches, triple threat, fatal four-way. Maybe they make this year's Iron Survivor match for the women's championship, or maybe Blake Monroe wins the Iron Survivor to get the #1 contendership for New Year's Evil. Either way, I think that this is an inevitable path. This is your big star right now. This is who you're pushing. Make her the champion. The Women's World Championship. This thing took me for a loop this past month. In the last video, the champion was Io Sky. Again, you got to remember, we made this video before Evolution. In the last video, I predicted that eventually she would just lose the title to Rhea Ripley, and my logic was honestly pretty sound. There was nobody else to beat Io Sky. With Liv Morgan being out to injury, WWE didn't really have anybody else on the Monday Night Raw roster to dethrone Io Sky and have it be logical. To me, the only available option was Rhea Ripley, either at Evolution or at SummerSlam. And honestly, I was right. The WWE demonstrated that they had nobody on Monday Night Raw, so they had to get somebody from Friday Night SmackDown to do it. We had Naomi cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase to become our next Women's World Champion, and changing over from Friday Night SmackDown to the depleted main event scene of the women's side of Monday Night Raw. She basically did a little mini heist of the century, cashing in towards the end of one of the greatest women's matches in the history of the WWE, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky at Evolution, shocking the entire world. Not only that, but then she goes to SummerSlam and pins Rhea Ripley, so she's pinned both Rhea and Io Sky. And she does currently have a championship match scheduled at Clash in Paris against Stephanie Vaquer, a match that I don't think that she's going to lose, because I think that there is just too many things that WWE needs to explore in this World Championship reign, and it would be way too early for her to lose this at Clash in Paris, as much as I love Stephanie Vaquer. I think that this is the path eventually, right? I thought that maybe it would be Jade winning the championship at SummerSlam, and Jade versus Bianca would be the big match, but Jade lost at SummerSlam. She doesn't hold any titles, but Naomi does, and they have not explored Naomi versus Bianca Belair yet, and that is a major match and major storyline that absolutely needs to be explored at some point during the championship reign of Naomi, and if she runs into Bianca Belair, I think that she loses. Now let's talk about the WWE Women's Championship. Tiffany's holding this thing down. Ever since she cashed in at the beginning of the year, she has beaten opponent after opponent. Even though it hasn't been the greatest of championship reigns, it's starting to pick up some steam. In the last video, I predicted that it would be Jade Cargill to dethrone her as early as SummerSlam. Here's the thing, I'm actually going to stick with Jade Cargill. Right now, there's no one for Tiffany Stratton to face. There's no top heel on Friday Night SmackDown. I think that they're going to continue Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, with Jade Cargill probably turning heel, getting a more ruthless version of herself out there, and then eventually dethroning Tiffany Stratton later in the year. Let's look at the NXT Championship now. The current champion is Oba Femi, and as always, there doesn't seem to be anybody that is capable of beating Oba Femi, so we're going to have to go to different universes to see who is going to eventually dethrone Oba. Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, the ruler of Outworld, might be the best position to dethrone Oba Femi, especially if he is able to convince the gods to host another Mortal Kombat tournament. And let's be honest, if there is another Mortal Kombat tournament for the fate of humanity, we're sending Oba Femi into this tournament. Guile from Street Fighter, especially now that he's being played by Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes ain't gonna lose. Crypto, the dog from Superman, he's a good boy. Brock Lesnar, if you know, you know. Wait. In the last video, I suggested that I might be Jasper Troy. He was getting a mega push. It seems like that's been settled down here, and now he's feuding with the likes of Ricky Saints. Still big names that he's feuding with, but it looks like they are going with the guy that I initially predicted during Oba Femi's initial months as champion. It looks like they're going back to the young OG Javon Evans, and if they're going back to it, so am I. This is a guy that I predicted for a really long time, but it looked like he was kind of taking a side quest here for a long time, and I kind of started losing hope that he would go after the World Championship after losing at Stand and Deliver and not really revisiting Oba Femi as an option for him. But it looks like they're going down this path. He has a #1 contendership match against Trick Williams to set up a match at a Heat Wave. We'll see see if that leads to a world championship match, but I do think that he is the guy that's best positioned to be the next face of NXT. Now let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship. In the last video, the champion was the ring general Gunther. Man, this championship is also on the move because he's no longer your champion. In the last video, I suggested that it might be LA Knight, that LA Knight would win a #1 contendership opportunity because he beat Seth Rollins at Saturday night's main event, which, by the way, that event hadn't happened yet. I predicted that he would beat Seth Rollins at Saturday night's main event, get a championship opportunity because of it at SummerSlam, beat Gunther, but then get cashed in on by the guy that he beat at Saturday night's main event. Because I predicted that Seth Rollins would cash in at the end of SummerSlam. Again, I made this before the injury angle, so I didn't know that I would eventually get worked the way that I did. However, they said, LA Knight getting a championship opportunity or push? That's hilarious. Instead, they had CM Punk win a gauntlet match, get the #1 contendership spot at SummerSlam to go up against Gunther, and he ultimately ended up winning in what was a 30-minute ass whooping, basically. And then Seth Rollins cashed in. Even though after the injury, I didn't think this was going to happen because I got worked like a freaking fiddle. And here we are. We have Seth Rollins as champion. SummerSlam was crazy. We had 3 champions in the span of like 5 minutes. Still, one of the craziest things that I've ever seen, the greatest cash-in of all time. This was just absolutely immaculate, incredible. I still think it will eventually be CM Punk. I think that the path will be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but that match is so big that it doesn't need a world championship, and I could see somewhere, maybe in the road to WrestleMania, CM Punk getting an opportunity against Seth Rollins again and winning because of help from Roman Reigns returning to take out Seth Rollins to set up their match at WrestleMania so that CM Punk can win the World Heavyweight Championship back and go into Mania as the champion. Now the WWE Undisputed Championship. This thing also moved. In the last video, the champion was the never seen 17 heel John Cena. And this thing also just took a roller coaster because he actually went into his SummerSlam match not even as heel anymore. They turned him right back to babyface because clearly there was never going to be a payoff to the Travis Scott and The Rock thing. So they just said, whatever, pull the parachute, let's restart things at SummerSlam. I did predict that the next champion would be Cody Rhodes, although I was doubting that it could be at SummerSlam because of how good John Cena's heel run was actually starting to get, to the point where I'm like, man, I don't want to see John Cena lose this thing yet. I did cheat in the last video. I was like, well, if Seth Rollins doesn't cash in on the World Heavyweight Championship, he might cash in here as well. But ultimately, Cody Rhodes won the WWE Championship and was just a clean street fight. No interference, no bloodline rules style of main event, just a one-on-one match between the former face of the company versus the current face of the company in what was a really entertaining SummerSlam main event. But it's time now, right? It's time that we do Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship and Randy Orton winning his next belt. Absolutely, it's time. You gotta pull the trigger on this. Now that The Rock is nowhere to be found, or for the love of God, do not reinsert him into a Cody Rhodes angle. Let's go with the most natural big storyline here for Cody Rhodes. It is Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton again, with Randy Orton probably as a heel. All right, folks, that's it. This is a long video. Hopefully you stuck with me here throughout it all. Leave your predictions in the comments down below, but that's it. I'm done. Goodbye. Get out of here.